Everyone is speaking out about this as the New York Rangers have a massive decision looming ahead of this season, and everyone is speaking out about it. And this decision will heavily affect the team heading into not only next season, but the next 5 years. We're going to break down what that decision is and why they have to make it as soon as possible. We're going to break that all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your New York Rangers, this channel is built for blue shirt fandom. So go down below and hit that free subscribe button so you can stay up to date, again, with everything happening with the blue shirts. But let's get right into it, Bret. We have an interesting one today, and something that I think a lot of people are starting to talk about, because obviously we're in mid-July now. Things are quieting down. Not too many moves. They don't have too much salary cap space, right? So the one thing that has to happen, I believe, before the season, and again, this is just my opinion, is they have to name not only a captain, but the rest of the leadership group. And I think it has to look a little bit different than last season. You touched on that a little bit in another video, but it's about time we start talking about it and talking about it seriously, that there needs to be a new captain, and it needs to be next year. Now, a lot of people, you can see it here from Bald Panarin, a lot of people on Twitter are naming the same three guys. It's either Vincent Troche, JT Miller, or Adam Fox. So I want to throw it over to you right away. What are your thoughts on that? Do they need to name a captain? Before we get into who's going to be the captain, do they need to name a captain heading into this year's season? And who would you name as the next captain of the Rangers?
Right, so the Rangers need to name a captain as soon as possible. If we look at last year, it's really odd. A team that was coming off the President's Trophy, 2 wins away from a Stanley Cup final appearance. It's really odd that last year there seemed to be a lack of direction, a lack of cohesion, and really any plan. And, Peter Laviolette is not returning as head coach, obviously. The Rangers brought in a 2-time Stanley Cup champion in Mike Sullivan, who, when he walks into the room, you know exactly who he is, what he stands for, a no-nonsense type of coach. And I'm excited that the Rangers have their leadership and their sergeant in the locker room. Now it's time for the Rangers to establish their leadership on the ice. I understand, Mike Sullivan's the head coach, X's and O's, all of that, but they need a real leader on the ice. No more of the alternate captain situation where the Rangers had 4 of them last year. The Rangers, I believe, should go back to the traditional leadership structure. 1 captain, 2 alternate captains. We'll get into it here in a second, but when it comes to captain, I believe JT Miller should definitely be the captain of the New York Rangers. I've seen on social media people going back and forth. A lot of people believe it should be Troche, which is also a good option, my number 2, but I believe JT should lead this team here moving forward.
Yeah, and you said it best. Out there on social media, a lot of people want it to be Vincent Troche. And again, he's been around for a couple years at this point, right? So he's more familiar with the city, the team, and he has that leadership presence with some of the younger guys. But I think JT Miller, personally, I have to agree with you. He's the guy to me. And I think there's a reason why they traded for him last season. I honestly do believe that. Now, there's a lot of people like NYR Louis, and this is echoing a lot of the thoughts out there from a lot of Rangers fans on social media, at least what I'm seeing today, that it should be Vincent Troche. And we can talk about that for a minute. Again, he's a great player, great leader, right? Leads by example, had some great quotes last season. Didn't like much of what he said, I have to be honest, at the end of last season in terms of what he was saying post-game. But he's given the Rangers some great moments. Everyone remembers the double overtime winner against Carolina. And he's a great player, right? Leads by example, all these things. He would be a great captain. He's a great candidate to be the next captain. You can see here, we have to remember that Chris Drury sees the Rangers as a cup contender and win now team, whether any of us agree or not. So they have to name a captain next season, get that rolling, because that's kind of the mode that the team is in, that they're trying to win still right now. They're not in a retool, they're not in a rebuild or anything like that. And a lot of people want it to be Troche because he's been around for a long time. But personally, and like you said, it's got to be JT Miller. To me, I mean, this quote blew my mind from Patrick Allvin from the Vancouver Canucks. That last season, JT Miller, he probably understood that he's not going to get that many more shots to win the cup. He was extremely prepared coming into last season, and some of the younger guys thought that maybe this is going to be easy, and maybe they weren't as prepared to do the same things that he was. So he's going to come into this season with the same mindset. The Canucks, I think, and the Rangers are kind of in the same place in terms of where they are or where they'll land in the standings. So he's going to come in with the same mindset. That's good for the younger guys, right? And that's the whole reason that he got traded, because they had to pick between JT Miller and Pettersson. And obviously, I think with the cap structure, you're going to pick Pettersson if you're the Canucks. But JT Miller, to me, is a bit of a unicorn. He's a great player. He can play defense. He's great in all three zones. He forechecks. He can score over 100 points. We've seen that. And he leads by example. He's not afraid to tell you how it is on the bench. So what are your thoughts on that? Because to me, this blew my mind when this first came out, that I was like, wow, this is definitely the guy, and this is why they traded for him. Not just because of what he can produce on the ice, but, his leadership qualities and the fact that he is going to be no nonsense and he expects the best out of everyone.
Wow, a lot there, Darius, that I need to break down one by one because you said a lot of great points there. And the first one was, Troche, has been here a while. But
Yep.
let's not forget that, JT Miller was drafted by the New York Rangers. JT Miller was a part of that Stanley Cup run that the Rangers had. This is a guy, his second time around here in New York. He understands what it means to be a blue shirt. He understands what playing like a Ranger looks like, not only now, but for the future. So this is a guy that's had success as a New York Ranger both times around now. You said he's a unicorn. He really is. He's a situational hockey player, which the Rangers have done a nice job bringing in more guys like that. They need to continue doing that, bringing in more situational hockey players like JT Miller, a guy that's going to be effective on the power play, penalty kill, face-offs, the defensive zone, you name it. This is a 200-foot game type of player. And not only that, what hasn't been talked about here when it comes to JT Miller is he is the perfect bridge between the youth and the veterans that the New York Rangers have, because we were speaking about it. We couldn't believe the Rangers had the 10th youngest team in the entire league. So JT Miller is that bridge. He's here for the next 5 seasons. We haven't really considered Fox, Foxy as a real contender here, but I just believe he is perfect to remain as the alternate captain. I believe it's a two-man race between Miller and Troche. Troche stepped up last year when Trouba was traded. Had some good quotes, also had some bad quotes, like you mentioned there, towards the end. But JT is that guy. He's going to lead by example. He has the stats to back it up, unlike Jacob Trouba. I know he's a defenseman, but after the 2021-2022 season, you saw a rapid decline from Trouba. So when a guy gets in your face like JT Miller, you know it's authentic. You know he has the stats to back it up. He could easily be the leading point scorer on your team. I don't believe he will. I believe it'll be the Breadman, but he is capable of doing that. So JT Miller's my guy.
Yeah, it's going to be healthy competition between him and Panarin, I think, in point production this year, which will be fun to watch. But you're right. I mean, this team is much younger. I mean, look at Will Cooley, look at Gabe Perreault, right? Like he's the perfect, gap there, or the bridge, I should say. Sorry, between that gap. So, it's going to be interesting to see who they end up picking. But I think they got to do it before the season, and I think it's JT Miller at this point. And again, you could see here that being a Rangers fan can be tough at times. But imagine being a fan of a team that wanted to trade a top player because he wanted it. He just wanted to win, right? So at least you're not in that situation. You're the team. If you're a Rangers fan, you're a fan of the team that traded for that guy that wants to win so badly, and you add him to your leadership group. And I do agree. You made a good point a couple minutes ago that no way can they go into the season with like 4 or 5 alternate captains. Don't do that. Go back to the traditional. Like maybe you have 2 assistants and the one captain, and it should be JT Miller. And you brought up an interesting point about Adam Fox as well, that, I don't see him as a captain, but it doesn't mean he's not a leader and he doesn't lead by example. He's a great pro. And I feel like he can be the type that if any, young guys come into the team, anybody new that's traded in, he can kind of be like, hey, listen, that guy over there, JT Miller, we listen to that guy. He's the captain. Come to me for anything you need to, but he leads by example. He's the captain of this team, right? He just strikes me as that type. So great player, great offensive player. I think that he's going to have an amazing year. Adam Fox is this year as well, with Gavrikov by his side, but should be interesting. But any final thoughts on all of this? Because, it's a hot topic of conversation right now. Things have cooled down. We got to start talking about it because I think that it has to happen before the season starts. And to me, it's JT Miller. He's the guy.
Well, my final thoughts here is, I'm glad you just mentioned Fox. Still an elite defenseman, top 5 in my opinion. I'm pretty sure you believe the same as we've spoken about here on the channel. And nothing against Fox, just don't see him as a captain. I mean, this is a guy that strictly leads by example, not really going to get in your face and be the biggest vocal type of guy. But he did win the Mr. Ranger Award 2023-2024. That says something about his leadership on and off the ice. He's a great player. Look forward to watching him this season. When it comes to Troche, he's kind of in between JT and Fox. He leads by example, but he's also vocal. just not quite as vocal as JT Miller. And when it's JT Miller getting in your face, like I said, you know it's authentic. He has that reputation, that fiery type of desire that he just wants to do whatever it takes to win. When he yells at you, when he gets in your face, it's nothing personal. It's just for the love of the game. That's what JT Miller cares about. You mentioned it. Doesn't have, too many more shots here at a Stanley Cup. He's 32 years old. He'll have some more shots, but he's still in the prime of his career. So down the road, he may have some shots, but who knows, what type of player he'll be at that point. Right now, he is a really important piece to this Rangers team that I believe will make the postseason. And he's the guy. You have to establish the captain right away. You can't go into the year with any question marks, any drama. Let's just nip it right away. Put the C on JT Miller. And in a future video, we'll talk about the alternate captain situation as well. And don't forget to give us a follow on X at Rangers Digest YT. The conversation will continue over there, not only for today's topic, but for future topics as well. And check out the live stream tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about this. This is going to be a hot topic in the live stream as well. And the conversation always continues in the comments down below. So let us know how you feel there. And obviously, like you mentioned on X, the link will be in the description and the pinned comment, so check that out. But let us know how you feel about JT Miller or Vincent Troche or Adam Fox. To me personally, and Bret, it's probably going to be JT Miller, and it's got to be soon. And you brought up a couple of good points that, when he's yelling at a guy like Mika Zibanejad on the bench, he's like, listen, man, nothing personal, but let's get going here. Let's start playing well. And Mika had his best stretch of the season when JT Miller first came over. So there is something to that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Who would you name as the next captain of the Rangers, and when would you do it? Let us know down below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.